Okay, kids, you ready? All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Bandits Everywhere podcast. This is episode number 2. We are so excited to have you here. Please go to the Bo Biscuits page, go to the store, go check out the merch that we have there to support this podcast. My name is Matt. I'm from Mexico. I'm the host of the Bandits Everywhere podcast. This is a podcast about bandits, about dads being fans of Bluey. We just want to have meaningful and fun conversations with other dads from the community. The dynamic of the show is each episode we have a dad guest to talk about Bluey, to talk about life, marriage, kids mainly, being a dad, talk about Bandit. And today on this episode we have Mr. Tickle. That's his real name. His name is Glenn Tickle. We're gonna learn a lot more about him in a moment. I just want him to introduce himself, let us know what you do, and then we can start talking about whatever we want to talk. So let us know, Glenn, what's going on in your life?
Sure. Hello. Thank you for having me. Like you said, I'm a comedian. I'm based in New Jersey in the United States, and I travel around performing comedy, mostly about my kids, which is basically my job for the past almost 9 years now has been professionally talking about my children, which is great because they're usually all I want to talk about anyway.
Yeah. Great. So that's the first question. What do you do? Oh, right. First, before going to the questions, just want to give a quick shout out to a member of the group. I don't know his real name. He just goes by Kaching. Just want to give a quick shout out to him. He created a Spotify playlist which is called O Biscuits. Go out a song if you want. I'll put the link below so you can go check that playlist and add yours if you want. So, got off topic there. Let's get back to Glenn. I'm just gonna ask you a couple of questions just to create some
Sure.
conversation, and then
Chat,
I'm
friend.
I'm gonna ask you to share a story with us about your kids, about being a dad, and then we can go from there to whatever
Yeah.
we want. So, what do you for a living? That you already talk about that. How do you handle life versus work? What's your work like? Like having kids. How do you handle life versus work?
Sure. I've been doing comedy longer than I've had kids, but when I had my first child, my Bluey in
Yeah,
the
that's right.
terminology of the Facebook group that we're in, my older daughter, she's about to turn 9. I started doing jokes about being a dad and having a kid like immediately. Like the first set I did back, it was like a week or two after she was born. I was real tired. I was opening for Mike Kaplan at a local show and just did a whole set about how tired I was because I just had a baby and I didn't have anything else prepared. And it went really well. And I was like, oh, people like when I talk about having a kid. This is great. Because before that, I've been doing comedy for 3 or 4 years, I think, at that point. And it's not that I was bad at it, it's just I was kind of new and people didn't really care what I wanted to do jokes about. And then when I started doing jokes about my kids, it kind of clicked more with the audience. Uh, and I mean, new parents all only want to talk about their kid anyway.
Yeah.
So it was great. Like it gave me kind of a focus, and it makes me feel. I think I would do this anyway, not just to like mine it for comedy, but it's like, oh, I'm gonna go spend time with my kids because that is also now part of my job. Like I need to have more stories to tell about them, so it encourages me to like go play with my kids, go do like take them somewhere interesting, go do fun stuff. It's nice because I don't work normal people hours, so like I'm around
Yeah.
during the day most of the time, but then sometimes I go on tour for. I try to keep trips fairly short because I don't want to be gone too long. But I will, I'll be gone for maybe a week or two at a time, and then come back make sure I'm home for a bit with the kids before I have to go anywhere again. But it's nice because I'm usually the one who picks them up from school. I'm here to help with homework. We hang out during the day, and then sometimes I have to head out after dinner to go do a show somewhere.
Yeah, you get to talk about your kids. Not, I mean, don't not annoy people. Get them laugh,
Yeah,
and you get paid. What more could you ask for, right?
it's really the best possible situation because I feel like if I just talked this much about my kids with just anybody I come across, they would probably get bored of
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what
Uh,
I did.
but thankfully, I'm good at it. Like I'm
It.
good. I think I'm good at comedy and talking about my kids.
Talking about that on those lines, one of the question that I got is, do you know? I mean, where is the line between a good joke about your kids and your family
Hmm.
versus making them mad? Because there will be one day that they will have enough of you telling jokes about them. So
Yes. Oh, I'm
what's the
sure.
line?
I accept that there's like just a baseline level of one day my daughters are going to hit an age where everything I do annoys and embarrasses them.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then at
that's
that
that line.
point, they might just be like, "Oh, it's stupid that you do jokes about us. Knock it off." But like, I don't know. I don't know that I would take that request seriously. But I think if now, like genuinely, if one of them said, "Hey, I really don't like it when you tell jokes about me," I would talk to them about it and say like, "Well, this is why I do it. This is why Daddy tells that story on stage." Because I put a special out last year through Dry Bar Comedy, and it is almost entirely about them. Like it is,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's 28 minutes. The Dry Bar ones are kind of short. 20 of it easily is just stories about my kids. And they watched it with me. It came out and it showed up on our Apple TV as like a recommendation. And my 3 year old was just like, "Hey, Daddy, you're on TV." I'm like, "Yeah, that's my comedy special I've been telling you about. Do you wanna watch it?" They're like, "Yeah." And then after it started, I was like, "Oh, this is mostly just jokes about me being afraid of these two. How are they going to take it?" And my older daughter did ask a couple. There's a story in there where we are in a room full of taxidermied animals at a nature preserve that we go to quite a bit. And she's like pointing out that they're all dead, but they used to be alive, like saying really creepy stuff. And while I'm doing that joke in the video that we're watching, she's like, "Daddy, did I really say that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you did." So if she said like, "Hey, I don't like it when you tell people I say scary things," I guess my reply would be like, "Then stop saying them. Like, I don't make things up that my children say or do, unless it's like sometimes." If it's really obvious that it's like a made up joke, like I did a joke in one of my other specials where I say my 1 year old baby at the time wrote a joke, and like the point of the joke is, well, no, she didn't. She was a baby. She doesn't know what words are.
Yeah, I remember
So
that.
that in that case, like, yes, I'm lying. I'm saying my baby did something and said something she didn't say, but it's so obvious that I don't think any reasonable person would be like, "Oh, you're making up stuff that your child says."
Yeah.
Because I don't want them to be upset with me. I'm sure they will be someday, but if
I,
they want to be able to afford the therapy they're going to need, then I need to keep doing jokes about them so that I can keep doing shows.
no, but, I mean they're really young right now, so you still got a pretty long run until they
Yeah,
realize
they're
that.
8 and 3,
By the way,
so
that video that you were talking about, the dry bar special. By the
yes.
way, guys, this that is a really good video. I'm gonna leave links so you can go check that
Thank
out.
you. Yeah, they put it up
It's
on
really
YouTube
good.
for free. So it is. If you have the Dry Bar app, it's there. But if you don't, just search Glenn Tickle Dry Bar. It is. It's funny. It's a
Yeah,
good. I'm proud of it.
yeah. Go check that. Go check Glenn's YouTube channel. But yeah, I'm gonna leave the link for that video. It's pretty funny.
Thank you.
I actually didn't went to your YouTube channel we were talking about on our previous call.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you got some pretty good videos there. I mean,
Thank you.
you're you're a funny guy.
I appreciate it.
So
I do. I'm trying
you
to get my subscriber numbers up on there, so I appreciate the
that's
the
harder
money
than
for my
it.
YouTube
Yeah,
channel.
it is hard to get your subscribers up. I don't
Yeah,
know how
it's
people do that.
slowly climbing up, but I would love to. I'd love to hit 1,000, just as like a
Yeah.
nice round number to get to.
Yeah, my page, my Facebook page, OBS Kids, it's been growing. It feels nice. I mean, I I have like now 500, some 440, but like almost 400 where they came in when I posted something on the Bandits group. So
Hmm.
it's really great. I mean YouTube is different, but yeah. Before we go off the off topic and talk about other things, I want to talk about you being a comedian,
Yeah,
since that work is not very common. It's not a very common job. I wanted to ask you, how's a comedian life with kids? I mean, what do you do? You like start working at? I mean, you already talked about that, but how's a comedian's life with kids?
I like it a lot. Actually, some of the worst advice I ever got was from a comedy club owner uh, in Manhattan, who I was doing a set. I was auditioning for this club, and after the show, he was like meeting with us, like give us feedback. His advice to me was, don't ever get married or have kids, because like as a comedian, it's so much easier to be on like it frees you up. You can be on the road for like months at a time without like feeling the need to go back. You don't miss anybody. Except the whole set that he supposedly just watched me do was about my wife and child. So I'm like, you didn't listen to a
Yeah,
word I
yeah.
said. Like because I got married young, so I think this was a while ago. So I think at the time I was, in my mid to late 20s, and he's like, oh, he's a young guy. He's probably still got time. I don't know. I've not performed at that club since. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, we all have our own priorities. So I mean, I don't know. I don't see why he would tell you that if your priorities aren't like being
I
on
under
a
yeah,
stream.
I understand the impulse. Like it would be easier to travel and I'm not even to perform like not having a wife and kids doesn't make it easier to do comedy. It makes it easier to be on the road, which is part of comedy for sure. But I mean, I think especially because for me, writing comedy really started to click after I had a kid. Like, I was
Mm.
already married when I started doing comedy, so that was, out of like it didn't matter. I was already married. I wasn't. I wouldn't not have kids because some random club owner told me not
Yeah,
to.
pff, right,
Uh,
of course.
yeah. Plus, like I've always wanted to have kids. Like I had always kind of assumed I would get married and have kids one day.
Me too.
My
Me too.
wife is someone I've known for like well over I think 2/3 of my life at this point. We met when we were 12. We've been together on and off most of that time. So like it just didn't seem like I don't know. I have a lot of friends who are comedians who do jokes about like dating and how hard Tinder is. I'm like, I have no idea. I don't like. Sure, it sounds bad. I don't know. What? Just you guys didn't marry someone you met in the 7th grade? I mean, that really solved a lot of problems for me in terms of dating.
Yeah.
But it gives me something to talk about. Like I can do jokes about being a dad and being a husband. And there's so many comedians out there doing Tinder jokes right now that, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it sets me apart a little bit.
Comedy right here on Mexico, where I'm from, and basically in the US too. I mean, 80% of comedians and 80% of the shows, it's about bad language or something dirty or something
Yeah,
like that. I
that's true up here
what
as
I
well.
what I really enjoy about your videos, it's not to say like for kids at all. I mean, it's not that, but you get to prove that you don't need to be on that side of causing every 3 words or talking about something dirty to be actually funny. So I that's what I really like about your videos, about your style, your comedy style. And you wouldn't
Thank
get
you.
it
Part
if
of
you
that is
weren't.
Dry Bar specifically. Like Dry Bar, if you're not familiar with like the brand, they just put out clean comedy specials from people. And my first hour that I recorded, I mean, I think I might have said like "darn it" or something. Like it's also not particularly dirty, but I do a lot of college shows, so I get asked to work clean a lot, and I'm lazy. Like I don't want to write a dirty set that I can't do most places that are paying me to perform, it doesn't make sense to me. I will think of like a dirty joke sometimes, and then sometimes I will try to think of a way to do it without it being dirty. Some of my favorite jokes from that Dry Bar special were the ones where I'm like, oh, they're gonna cut this one for sure. I ran a few of them by the producer right before the show started because it was like I feel like these ones are a little close to the line, but they are like I think I explained in the one joke. I'm like, it feels like I shouldn't be able to say this, but it doesn't mean anything. It sounds dirty. So I think those kinds of jokes are fun for me to do. I did a show, I think it was 2 weeks ago. It was a corporate show, and they were really talking up before the show how dirty I could be. They're like, you can say anything you want, doesn't matter. I'm like, oh, I'm not. I might like I swear casually like in life, like I might drop a few curse words into jokes that don't usually have them, but I'm not gonna like do a really filthy set. Like I'm just gonna do my regular jokes. And then they were disappointed that I wasn't dirtier. I'm like, you guys booked me. I don't know what to tell you. Like I don't feel bad that I didn't swear more for you.
No, but I mean that, like you said, that sets you apart because it feels like it usually feels like if you, in order to be funny, you have to be dirty. And that's
I think especially when you're starting off, because it's
like a safe way to do it.
It's kind of easy. Like if you're doing a bad show in a bar somewhere and people kind of aren't paying that close attention, if you start swearing a little bit, they will at least pay attention to what you're saying. They might not laugh, but like you will hold their attention more than if you are a soft-spoken man approaching 40, just politely telling stories about his kids.
If you put it that way, I mean.
I know my limitations as a performer. But it's also like I don't know. I get uncomfortable. Like I don't want to be filthy in public. Like I feel I was hanging out with my parents over the weekend, and my mom swore, and I'm like, mother. Like, what? And I'm 38 years old, and she's significantly more than that. And I'm like, it still feels weird to hear your mom curse, and I don't think everybody feels that way.
That's right. So we haven't talked about Bluey actually.
Yeah.
So what's like the whole point? And I mean, so what's your favorite Bluey episode?
My favorite episode, I've said since I saw it that if I had 7 minutes to live, I would choose to spend it watching Takeaway with my children.
Yeah, that's a good episode.
It's a great Bandit episode. I think there's a lot of really nice moments in the show, but that one in particular, I kind of locked into. It's one of the first ones that I saw where I'd already enjoyed the show almost from the jump. I think Keepy Uppy was the first one that I saw, and the second, she's like, "I've got a game for you." Is it Keepy Uppy? Yeah, it's Keepy Uppy. I'm like, perfect. That's the delivery on it. There's a genuinely funny moment in a kid show, which you don't get a lot. But Takeaway. You see Bandit is kind of vulnerable. Like that situation gets kind of out of hand, which is how I feel most of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I have 3. I get it.
Yeah, I just have the 2. I think I am a good dad when it is me and either one of my children one-on-one. I feel in control. I think I've got it. And then when it's the 2 of them, it's Takeaway. There's faucets are on, food's getting spilled, birds are eating shrimp or whatever that cartoon food is supposed to be, and it is just I think the most relatable I've ever felt to a character in any type of media. Which, I mean, as like a white guy, like there's a lot of straight white guys in media that I can relate to, but I think as a father, we don't get that a lot. Like there's not a lot of relatable dads to me in media, because a lot of movies and books and stuff are written about people's daddy issues. We don't always get like the story about someone's great dad.
Not every, but most of the shows for kids are either mainly moms, or the dad is just absent, or something like Peppa Pig or something like that. So what I don't understand about that episode is the reaction from the lady on the restaurant.
Oh yeah, she doesn't care at all. I would
Yeah,
be furious.
bandit. Yeah, no, I mean, she sees bandit on the floor and with all the food are scattered on the floor, and she's like,
Yeah,
"You want a cookie?"
yeah. And then she's like, "Oh, that looks fun." They're just spraying water in front of your restaurant, making a huge mess. But sure, it looks like they're having a blast. One thing I do genuinely like about the show is how everyone just jumps on board with whatever
Yeah,
games
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
kids are playing. I don't perform improv comedy, but I have a lot of friends who do. And there's this idea in improv that gets spread around a lot. I think even outside of improv, people are familiar with it. But the idea of saying yes and, like, if you're in a scene with somebody
Yeah, I
and
get
they
it.
say something, you just run with it. Because if you're like, no, that's dumb, or I don't want to do that, like, you just accept what they have said as the truth and act as if that is your new reality. And I have a lot of improviser friends, and I tell them, I'm like, guys, go watch Bluey. Like, if you're trying, like, some of them teach improv. I'm like, if you're trying to explain this to people who've never done improv before, just show them, like, in any episode with, like,
Lucky's dad.
Lucky's dad. Yeah, just
Yeah.
as he is so
Exactly.
gung ho for whatever dumb nonsense his next door neighbors are up to. It's like, yeah, it's because he doesn't. Bandit and Chili always understand what the game is, but Lucky's dad he's like, okay, yeah, he's trying to figure it out in the moment. He's like,
Yeah.
I don't know about this, Mrs. Healer, but sure, like you're lying.
Couple of moments. One with the magic asparagus
Hmm.
when Chili and Bingo become lions,
Yeah,
and that made me think: is Lucky's dad really involved there, or is it really magic? And the other one is the fairies when they are all in the
yeah,
street and Bandit starts dancing this Irish thing, and they all are outside. I mean, there's Lucky's dad, there's Juno, there's Juno's mom, and all that. They all start, and there's Rusty as well, and they sorry, they all start dancing and cheering, rooting for Bandit. I mean, I I I didn't grow up with such close neighbors. You know,
okay.
whatever we do, whatever they do, the healers. I mean, all of the neighbors will jump in as you were talking about. I didn't grow with that. I didn't have that. So yeah, that's a really nice thing.
I did, yeah. I had a pretty. I mean, I guess I still do because I still live in the same town that we moved to when I was 2 years old. But it's like very suburban. It is kind. We're not. I think the healers are on a cul-de-sac, if I remember
Mm-hmm,
correctly.
mm-hmm,
We weren't, but like the next door neighbors were friends of ours. Friends across my when I was in kindergarten, my best friend from across the street was from Australia originally.
nice.
Her dad got transferred, so I grew up like knowing an Australian family, and there was I think stuff that I got from them that I didn't realize was Australian until like later. I'd be like, "Oh, did you guys play this game? Like, what time is it, Mrs. Wolf, or whatever?" I think that's here in the
Mm-hmm.
states too, but I can't think of a good example right now. But oh, like Vegemite. Like I grew up eating Vegemite at my friend's house, and then like YouTube videos started popping up a couple years ago of like Americans try Vegemite for the first time. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah,
have you
yeah.
guys not had Vegemite? Like it's good. It's like it's yeast and salt. That's like two of the best things.
Yeah,
That's
Australians
pretty
are
much all
weird.
that's
Nah,
in
I'm just
there.
kidding. I'm just kidding.
You get used to it.
So your is your favorite if yeah, sorry, is your favorite Bluey moment from your favorite episode, or you have a favorite moment from any
Um,
season?
that's a good question. There's a lot of that like I was watching Bluey with my kids and nieces and nephews over the weekend, and Sleepy Time was on, and for like the 100th time I got a little choked up at Sleepy Time. Um, the moment in dance mode where they're in
Mhm.
front of everybody and they like give Bingo another try and she gets the dance modes back. Then she sets it off and he loudly announces, "I'm doing this for my kid." I'm like, yeah,
Oh, that's a very good moment. Yeah.
yeah. Because I am as it's weird because I perform professionally. Like I will stand in front of any size group of people and talk at them. but I'm terrified of singing publicly and dancing publicly because I don't think I'm good at them. But I would do it. Like I would dance funny for my kids' enjoyment. My 3-year-old made me announce her to Target the other day. She's been dressing up as Elsa from Frozen every day for like 3 months now, and there's the part in Frozen where before Elsa comes out of the coronation, like the guy comes out and he like announces that she's coming. My 3-year-old wanted me to do that because we were going into Target and she had her Elsa dress on.
She wanted to be noticed.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, yeah, stand here. And then I walk. She's like in between the double doors waiting, and then I go in and like, attention, everyone, Elsa, Queen of Arendelle. And my kid walked in. She was like so proud. I'm like, yeah, I'll announce Elsa from Arendelle, sure. Like that doesn't. I'm doing this for my kid.
That's a great story.
That's probably up there.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, that's Hold on. Cool. So let's hear your story. Let's hear. Do you have? Can you share a story about being a dad? How does that, relate to Bandit or Bluey? We just want to hear a story for you. I mean, we were talking about that. We're supposed it would be funny.
Yeah, I think I've been trying to work this out as a bit on stage, so I hope it is funny. But one of the last things, like one of the last trips that I took before everything shut down in 2020, was I brought my Bluey, my older daughter, with me on a trip. I was doing a college show in New England, and it was a kind of far drive, but not too far. It was overnight, so I was staying in a hotel. Like, it was the middle of the week, but I'm like, we'll leave when you get out of school. You'll miss the next day. It'll be fine. And so we drove up. It was just me and her, and it was shortly after her sister was born. Her sister was only a couple months old. So it's if you have a younger sibling, for a while there, they kind of take everybody's attention for a bit. So it's like, this will be nice. Like, she'll get like a special trip just for her, and it would be some nice one-on-one time. She gets to see what I do professionally. So we drive up to this school, and the students who were putting on the show, for some reason, because they didn't know that I was bringing my kid until like an hour or so before the show. And they're like, yeah, I was like, oh, my I think she just turned or was about to turn 7. It was like the early February, which is when her birthday is. I don't remember if it was right before or right after. But I was like, oh, my 7-year-old is going to be with me. I hope that's okay. And they're like, oh, it's fine. We'll bring coloring books for her. With no time or preparation, they just had so many crayons and coloring books for my kid at a moment's notice. I was like, I don't know where you got these on a college campus in 20 minutes, but great job. And they're like, oh, she can take them with her if she wants. She can bring them home. She was thrilled. So I do the show, and my kid is sitting right up front coloring, ignoring me the whole time. And that was another moment where I'm like, oh, she is right there, and most of this material is about her. Like, so I was wondering, I'm like, is she gonna like have questions after the show? Like, Daddy, why did you say this is about me? But she was not listening. She barely paid attention at all. It was also kind of fun because as I was doing jokes about my kid, the students in the room watching the show were very aware that child was present and sitting in the front row. So if I did a joke about how scary she was or something, like people would look at her like, and she just, again, was ignoring everybody, just coloring. It was a nice trip. Like, we stayed in an okay hotel. Wasn't like high end or anything, but it was fine. Like, they had a pool, so we brought our bathing suits. She got to go swimming. There were 2 beds in the room. She thought that was incredible. She had her own. She thought it was funny that there were 2 in the same room. And
very silly impressed. She's
like, yeah. I'm like, this is. I'm glad that you're loving this, but this is like at best a B- hotel, which is about like when I tour, that's about what I'm staying in. I try to avoid the really shady ones, but I'm not staying in like the height of luxury either at my level. But I'm like, hey, I'm glad you're having fun. Sure, this is the best hotel ever. And she's like, we need to come back to this hotel. I'm like, I don't think we're not driving back up to Connecticut just to stay here again when there's so many other hotels between here and home. But the interesting part to me was on the drive home, she's like, Daddy, what's your job? And I'm like, what do you mean?
You just saw it?
I'm like, I'm a comedian. She's like, yeah, no. I know you're a comedian. I mean for work. I'm like, that's this. Like, this is my job. I travel places and I tell people jokes. She's like, I don't think you understand the question. She's like, Mommy's a librarian. Mommy goes to a library and Mommy helps people. Who do you help? And I'm like, me, I guess, mostly. And then, like, the extra 2 hours that we still had to go before we got home, I'm just sitting there thinking, like, what do I, like, who do I help? Why am I doing any of this? And it is, like, she knew that I was a comedian, but she didn't get that was my job. She just thought this was, like, a thing that I did. Because when you're 7, yeah, I guess it doesn't make a lot of sense that your dad, who is just goofy at home all the time, is somehow paid to do it outside the home. Like, she just genuinely didn't understand. And I was trying to, like, explain, and she gets it. Again, like, she understands. She knew, because she tells a joke on my first comedy album. She was 3 years old, and she was in the audience for that, and I bring her out at one point, and she tells a knock-knock joke. So she, from a very early age, has seen what Daddy does. She was on stage with me once when she was like an infant. She was like 2 or 3 months old. And I was holding her on stage while I was performing. And so I start this bit when I do it on stage as saying, like, my kids don't know what my job is. And I'm not hiding this from them. They know that I'm a comedian. They just don't get it. My job. They just think it's a thing that Daddy does, like a bowling league. But I've been trying to, like, explain it to them, and she's still, like, well over a year later, almost 2 now, almost 2 years later, she's like, I guess, I mean, sure, people pay you, especially now because I've been doing so many virtual shows. Like, I'm recording this. I'm in a booth that I built in a shed in my yard. I built this booth specifically to do, like, podcast interviews and do virtual shows online because I've been doing so many of them that I needed a dedicated space where I could just leave all equipment set up. And the fact that Daddy goes in the backyard sometimes and tells jokes in the shed, that they do not, like, that's a new level of, we don't understand what it is that you do.
Yeah. Just wait until she has to tell what his daddy does. Yeah, he just goes in the shed, and
her friends know because every year I host. There's like a tricky tray is called. It's got different names around the world, but, like, you put raffle tickets in a little baggie in front of, like, a basket of coffee, or there's, like, different baskets, and you, like, drop tickets in the ones that you want to win. I host that every year for my kids' school as a fundraiser, and it gets me out of doing any other volunteer work for the school. So, which is why I do it. And the only reason is because nobody else wants to do it. Like, everybody else is so afraid to be the one standing in front of a room full of people reading raffle numbers. So, like, I do 5-10 minutes of stand-up, and then I just read all the numbers from, like, 120 baskets, I think it was this last time. And so now, like, her friends' parents know I'm a comedian. Like, her friends, when I pick my kid up from school sometimes, and her friends will be like, Mr. Tickle, tell me a joke. And then I'll just tell them some little kid joke. Like, they get it, again, but I don't think, even the adults, like, my wife doesn't fully understand what my job is. She just she knows what comedy is, and she knows sometimes, like, money just gets dropped into my bank account because I went to Ohio or something. Like, I'm like, I'm going to be gone for 3 days. She's like, why? I'm like, I have to go tell jokes to nurses in Kentucky. She's like, sure, that sounds believable. Have fun.
Yeah, I mean, the kids, that story you told us, they're just making memories. I mean, if I remember when I was that age, I didn't get exactly what my parents did. I mean, I was just in my own world, and what I think it's good, what I think I I love about that age, like 7 to 8 and 9, something like that. You get you get the most memories. I mean, the fact that she saw that hotel being the best hotel in the world, even though it was a crappy hotel,
Yeah.
yeah, it means that she was enjoying being with her dad, no matter
Yeah.
the place. And when she becomes a teenager or even an adult, something like that, she will remember that hotel was huge and had a huge pool.
Oh yeah, that's
And
gonna be the nicest
yeah.
hotel until she actually gets to stay in a nice one. Which she's been in nice hotels.
Yeah,
One of
but
the other things,
they're
I do
easily
these
impressed.
college showcases because, like I said, I perform at a lot of colleges, and the way as a comedian you get booked at colleges is you have to perform on these showcases where like colleges either from around the country or a specific region will all send like student activities boards and stuff, and they watch comics and bands and magicians and decide who they're going to bring to school next semester for entertainment. And one of them is in Hershey, Pennsylvania, where they make chocolate and they have like a chocolate theme park. And the conference is at a hotel that Hershey runs called Hershey Lodge. And it is a very nice hotel. Like they have a little water park there. There's like really nice restaurants. There's a lot of like chocolate themed little kid stuff. Like it is one of the better hotels I think I've ever stayed in my life. And she's been there a few times. But yeah, like this one in Connecticut that's just like a pretty okay hotel you would stop at if you're driving somewhere overnight and you're not really sure when you're going to get tired. It's like, oh, this place seems nice. You know, it doesn't look, it's not the Bates Motel. It's fine.
Yeah, but I mean the whole experience, the fact that you she went with her dad on a road trip, and then she got to color books with crayons in front of
Yeah.
a bunch of people.
She was talking about it for quite some time after. So I hope it's a nice memory for her. But to tie
Yeah.
it into Bluey, uh, I think like the kids clearly don't. It's not that they don't know what their parents do. It's that it doesn't come up because when you're, I forget Bingo and Bluey's ages.
That's 4 and 6.
4 and 6 is what I thought. Like
Like
when you're 4 and 6, just what your parents' job is isn't that important to
Yeah,
you. Like
yeah,
you
no,
don't, unless it's something that relates to you as a child. Like my wife's a librarian, so from day one, my wife's bringing the kids into the library. They're going to story time. They've had library cards since they were born. Like they get what my wife does because they're there a lot and they are active members of the library. Um, but Bandit and Chili, when your dad is the other thing I've seen it comes up in the Facebook group that we're in every like 2 weeks. Somebody asks what their jobs are, and everyone says
Yeah.
archaeologist and airport security. Bandit would be a paleontologist. If he's digging up bones, he's not an archaeologist. He's a paleontologist. But to explain that difference to adults in a Facebook group, let alone a 6-year-old, like, yeah, you're like, I don't know. Sometimes Daddy has to fly to Long Reach. Like, it just doesn't play a huge part in the show because it's told through the kid's perspective of like, yeah, who cares? Like, yeah, whatever. Work, you go to work, you make drain pipes. Like, we don't understand what capitalism is. Like, we don't know. We're children.
Yeah, let's explain that to the kids, right?
Yeah. Or like the times that Bandit does have to go to work, they're like, "No, don't. We don't like that you leave." My kids do that to me every time I have to go somewhere. They immediately drop the please face and try to keep me from leaving to go to Nebraska for a weekend or something. I'm like, this is Daddy's job. Like, Mommy goes to the library almost every day. Daddy is home a lot of the time, and then just once or twice a month I have to leave for a few days. Like,
For example,
if I charted out how much time I spend at home versus how much time my wife spends at home, I think I win. Like, I think I spend more time at home. It's just when I leave, it is for days at a time,
yeah,
as opposed to 8 hours every day.
yeah, I get it. Yeah, for instance, I do marketing. I do videos for marketing, and a lot of my clients are, women's clothes and intimates and something like that. So I edit a lot of, bras and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In my kid,
Daddy, why are you watching underpants videos all the time?
yeah, he asked me a lot. Why are you always watching ladies on your computer? Don't say it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what I see that they get that I work with my computer all morning, all days. They have their little computers, like toy computers. So they would sit down on whatever spot on the house, and they would be like, yeah, I'm gonna work now, and they would get the computer. So they kind of know what I do. I just watch ladies on the computer. That's
Yeah.
as far as they- yeah, but I
Well,
mean,
it was interesting because when I started working from home as a blogger years ago, and it took a long time for my wife to kind of understand like what working from home looked like, because most of the time I would just be sitting on the couch with my laptop
yeah,
and writing up whatever story I was working on, and then I would finish work, and then I would still be sitting there on the couch on my laptop. And before I had that job, I spent a lot of time on the couch on my laptop. So if it happened to be like she had the day off, or I was working on a Saturday and she wasn't or something, I would be sitting there working, and she would just come in and like constantly interrupt me. And I'm like, you can't. Like, I know it doesn't look like it, but I'm
yeah,
working.
exactly,
I
exactly.
know it looks like I'm just screwing around on the internet, but that is currently what my job is. So, and I have ADD, so like
Me
if I
too.
get interrupted, that's the next like 30 minutes is me trying to get back into any kind of mental state to get work done. Which is
Yeah.
why I'm in a booth in a shed in my yard, because I need to be in a
With
separate building for my wife and children so that I can do comedy without getting
yeah,
distracted.
without windows, that happened to me
Yes.
because I also have ADHD. I mean, oh gosh, this is difficult. I used to work on my room. My room has this big window right in front of where I put my desk.
Okay.
So I'd be working there, and then it was like 2:30, something like that. And then I went to look at the window, and I got back to my computer, and it was 3:40 or something like that. So I stared.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
I had a home office until our second kid was born, and that became her room. So for the past 3.5 years, until the booth, I did not have a dedicated space
me,
to
me
work
neither. Yeah,
from
exactly.
for about 3 years. But also in those 3 years, like I wasn't writing professionally anymore. I was just doing comedy, which I don't need an office for. Like,
Hmm.
it helps to have a dedicated spot. We're kind of regardless, I think, of anybody what your job is. Like, having a space of your own is great. Like, it's nice. When I had an office, it drove my wife crazy because it was messy all the time,
Yeah,
and she is very neat and particular. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not, and I need that office to look like that so that I can do all my great creative work. And like,
yeah,
I know, like, it's part of the I know it doesn't look like it, but it is part of the process to have a big stack of papers and DVDs and books on top
yeah,
of the
totally.
futon. I know you would love to put those away, but I know what ones are there, and if I put them away, I'm never going to see them again. So I need them in my line of sight, or they
Let,
don't
let,
exist.
let me show you a couple of things I got scattered on my around my desk.
Sure.
I have a block of wood,
Sure.
glue, and a chisel. Yeah, that's
I
on
mean,
my
I
desk.
I still have I have random tools. I have a box of nails. I have my bandit. I brought him
Oh
out here.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, I bought. I got my kids a bunch of the Bluey toys, but I bought the skateboard set for me specifically. I'm like, this one's. I told them, I'm like, this one is daddy's. Like, Bandit is daddy's toy. They've since gotten him in a different set, so they have a Bandit. I have that one that I keep out here, and I have another one in my suitcase for when I travel.
That's nice.
Um, that's the work set, where he's got the little tie on because he's got to go to work.
Yeah,
Um,
the pipe selling bandit.
yeah, but I have. Yeah, I'm sitting. I have like spray adhesive. I have a bunch of stuff out here that I could clear out because I don't need it in the booth. I do
Exactly.
need it in the shed, but one of the walls of the booth is the shelving in the shed. So yeah, I don't know. It's a mess. It
Yeah,
is. I think compared to what my office used to be, the booth is pretty neat because I don't have a lot of floor space, so I can't clutter it up too much.
yeah,
But yeah, I just leave like I have. I'm talking to you on my iPad, but I'm recording on my laptop, so I have like, you know, my my mic stand is always set up. My XLR interface. I have a nice camera for doing live stream shows. I have stuff where I don't have to set up the microphone every time. I don't have to get the lights
Yeah.
out. Like they're just up all the time in the booth.
You
Get a
mentioned
booth, I think, is my advice to everybody.
yeah,
Just build a booth
this
in
is
your shed.
actually my living room. It's
Hmm.
There's the fireplace there, and there's a little like bar over there. There's the main couch. This is the entrance to the patio, the back patio, the yard, something like that. So I'm like in between the social part and the
Yeah.
there is a room there that used to be service room for the maid or something like that. And
Okay.
now I'm trying to transform that into my office. But yeah, someday I
I
will.
thought about that. We have a small pantry that, I mean, we use actively as a pantry, but there's also, we just have a bunch of stuff in there, like Halloween decorations that I could probably move 90% of what's in there into the attic and like free space up in there and use that as the booth. Uh, which when I was out here the other night when it was 9 degrees, that seemed like a great idea. But I think just having like this is in a separate building. Like it feels like going to work a little bit more than I
Hmm.
think working even in my office at home ever felt like. Because especially now we're having an electrician come wire the shed at some point, but for now I just run an extension cord from my house out here. So there's a fair amount of like setup that I have to do. So if I have a show, like I was recording this, I'm like, all right, I need to go out about half an hour before, run the extension cord, get the heater going, get my laptop set up, all that. And it does feel like, oh, now I'm doing like actual work,
Yeah, yeah,
which,
yeah.
I mean, it is still, I'm talking to you on a podcast. It's, I'm not paving roads or whatever, but it does. This is the only thing I had to do today besides be a dad. So it's nice. Like I had to bring my kids to school in the morning and pick them up and then,
Now,
make sure everybody's cooperating for dinner time and get
yeah.
get them in the bath, that stuff. But
Now that you were mentioned that taking the kids to school, I'm
yeah,
starting
yeah.
to see now patterns with these podcasts with the people that I'm interviewing. It's very interesting that all of them have, well, it's not surprising, but all of them have a bandit figure, and all of them
Yeah.
pick the kids from school, or make dinner, or change diapers. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm gonna say this. I'm thinking about saying this in every episode, but I gave the first diaper change and first bath to all my three kids. I like
I
saying
think
that.
first bath for both my kids, I think my wife and I did together. Uh, First diaper, I don't remember. It might have even been like a nurse at the hospital, but I'm pretty confident I've changed more diapers than my wife,
That's a
which
constant too. That's a constant too.
I wouldn't I wouldn't bring up in front of her necessarily. Like,
That could be dangerous.
yeah, because I
Nah,
like
just kidding.
that is one data point that is probably true. Like I'm not saying it to brag like, oh, I'm so much better, but I think I've changed more diapers than my wife did. But she, like, I consider myself a very good dad and husband, and I am involved in my children's life, and I do get them from school, and I help, make dinner, and like my wife and I split cooking and stuff pretty evenly. I'm involved. She is still 10 times the parent I am.
Yeah.
Like I said, when I have them both and it's just me, I'm in a constant state of being stressed out and worried I'm blowing it. And then I will also like leave for a week and a half and she's home with them all the time. And she's like, "It's fine, I got it." And like I mean I'm sure she experiences some stress, but she
Of
would
course.
definitely do a better job of being home alone with the kids for a week than I would.
Let me tell you a story about that specifically, like having the kids yourself by yourself. All Saturdays, my wife has business eyelash extension business. So
Okay.
Saturday it's her most busy day.
Sure.
So every Saturday I get the kids to the park. So we went to the park and we, run around there, whatever. So this one day, I have all three of them, and they want to get up to, they want to get these stairs, like bridge, something like that. It's just a random
Okay.
construction. It's just stairs. There are some trees up there, and you go down. So
Sure.
we get up there, and I start to see a lot of things flying around. And I have the three kids right here. My little one was 2 years old, 3 and 4. So
Okay.
I'm just running around up on the bridge, and then I suddenly feel a sting right here, right here. So I do this. I then realize it's full of bees up there. So I let go of the hand of my little one to just scare the bee, and she falls in the stairs. She rolls down like four steps on the stairs. And then I get one kid with this arm, and I get the other here, and the other is rolling on the stairs. Another bee stings my other girl on the shoulder, and I just, however possible, I take the three of them and I run down the stairs. When all of this happened, there's a family like 100 meters away. They're looking like really scared. What's going on?
Just
We're all,
laughing at the crazy guy running around.
oh yeah. They were marked by that day. They still talk about it to
Yeah,
this day.
my wife got attacked by a swarm of bees once as a kid, and she brings it up probably once a week. I've been stung by bees. I've never had them swarm me, and it seems like it would be very scary.
It's
My
interesting.
kid, I've been trying to do this bit on stage too. My kids are afraid of bees, and it's every spring for some reason we get like a few yellow jackets in our kitchen. And then, like,
Wow.
once we see two or three of them, that's it for the year. Like, we don't get a lot of them in the house. But I think every year since we've been in this house, for whatever reason, in the spring, a couple get into the kitchen. And the one morning, my daughter starts freaking out. And I'm like, what? What happened? And there's one sitting on her leg. And she's like, she
Gotcha.
doesn't know what to do. And she was, I think, five, maybe six. Like, it was a couple years ago. She's like, panicking and she's freaking out. I was like, all right, I need you to be calm because if you get up to move and like run, it might sting you. So I'm like, all right, just hang on, just be cool, like relax, take a breath. And she wasn't. She was like panicking,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and I had like something flat, like a piece of paper that was on the table. Like I put it on her leg so that the bee would walk on it, and then I had like a napkin in my other hand, and I had to like real quick grab it and pull it before it could sting my kid. And I'm like, this is like the highest stakes thing I think I've ever done, because if I mess this up, this is going to be the story of how daddy stung me with a bee. Like, daddy squeezed the bee on my leg. That's all I'm going to hear about for the rest of her life. And I did it. Like I snatched it and squished it when I grabbed it, and I saved my kid. I felt like so great. But now she knows she's afraid of bees. I am also afraid of bees. Like I don't love bees, but I will. She knows I will get stung instead. Like if somehow the option presents itself, like
Yeah.
I will stand in front of her and a bee. So we were eating dinner out on our porch the one night, and a bee was flying around. And she was like, Daddy, you'd let that bee sting you instead of me, right? I'm like, yeah. And then she starts like provoking the bee. She's like, she
Don't
was
put
so
the
scared.
scared.
So now she thinks like I can't, like if a bee lands on her, I can't necessarily do that every time. But she's pretty confident now if Daddy's around, she's not going to get stung. I will. I'm like, no, like I might, but I don't know. I'm not magic, but I also don't want to get stung by a bee. So not gonna,
It hurts.
like
It
I
hurts.
don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, it's been a long time. It does not feel good.
I mean, when I felt the sting here, it wasn't that painful, but yeah, a couple seconds after I flick the
Yeah.
bee away, it starts like waving, like yeah. It's
Whatever
pretty
year
painful.
Batman Returns came out was the last time I was stung by a bee. So 92, maybe? I forget.
That's the Michael Keaton movie,
Yeah, it's the
or
second one. The first one was 89. I know that. And I want to say 91 or 92.
yeah, I don't remember it, but I remember the movie.
Yeah. So it's been, either way, it's been 20 years, probably. since I've been
Yeah.
stung by a bee. But I'm not lining up to repeat. I got bit by a spider more recently. Similarly, I was pushing my kids on the swings at a playground, and there was a spider on the chain. And when I grabbed the chain, it bit my hand.
I'm
And
more
that didn't
scared
feel.
of of being bitten by a spider than a bee. I don't know
I mean, I don't love either of them. My
why.
kids are also they're afraid of spiders. I'm not. I mean, if it's a black widow or a brown recluse, which I think are the only two poisonous spiders we have in New Jersey, unless there was like a Spider-Man lab situation, and I can identify those. So if it's just some other spider, I'm like, yeah. If it bites me, it won't feel good, but I'm not gonna have to go to the hospital, and I'm not gonna
Yeah.
die. Like
Let us.
I'll put it in a cup and throw it outside. Like we don't need to panic because there's a Parsons spider
Yeah.
in the hallway.
All of you
But they don't know that.
Australian dads.
Yeah,
Let us
no,
know
you
how
guys
many
panic for sure.
spiders.
Yeah. We have two poisonous spiders here in New Jersey. I talk
I'm
about
sure there's more.
re,
There's gotta be
not
more.
natively.
Oh, okay.
No. I've looked into it. My kids are afraid of spiders. My youngest daughter, they both love Bluey. My youngest also loves this show called Izzy's Koala World on Netflix. It's a little girl in Australia. She helps her mom like rescue
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
rehabilitate koalas. So my 3-year-old's like, well, that's what I'm doing with my life. I'm gonna go to Australia and I'm gonna rescue koalas. Like I'm locking it in at 3. I found my calling. So I will talk about. I'm like, all right. So Olivia, when we move to Australia, and then like I'll talk about it as if it's happening next week, and it is something me and my 3-year-old talk about a lot. My 8-year-old gets so annoyed slash genuinely upset because she's so afraid of spiders and she knows there's more scary kinds in Australia. She's like, we can't go to Australia. There's too many spiders. I will not go. I'm like, well, you don't have to come. Me and Olivia, we're going to Australia. We're gonna rescue koalas and not be afraid of spiders. Because what's weird is like we live in America. There's things to be afraid of here too. And as much as I want to be the guy who's like, you think spiders are scary? How about and then just rattle off all the terrifying things about my own country? That's probably not a good solution to the problem when you're talking to an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, she's now just gonna be afraid of everything.
Yeah. I mean, oh, gosh. What's next? Yeah. I mean, how many time? How much time do we? Oh, we're close to an hour.
I got nowhere
That's
to
pretty
be.
cool. That's pretty. Yeah. So
I mean, I'm also not the one who has to edit this down, so it's entirely up to you.
yeah. No. I mean, I don't edit the podcast. I just make pieces. Um I'm gonna edit some pieces just to have some content out there about this episode. Um yeah, I'm gonna send it to you as soon as they are done so you can share.
Sure.
And yeah, I don't know why I posted yesterday, Sunday, yeah, a piece of episode 1, and all the build up, all the posts that I have been posting on the Facebook group has been great. It has had a lot of response, but I don't know why I posted a video yesterday and it got completely ignored.
I
Like,
had that happen on TikTok over the weekend. I post a lot of stuff on there, and usually Sunday mornings I post a stand-up clip to try to like do something as a habit. I'm like, all right, every Sunday morning, stand-up clip on TikTok, got it. And it was for like 3 hours, literally 0 views. Which, if it was on any other platform, I'd be like, oh, that's fun. Like, I'll post stuff on YouTube and it'll get maybe 100 views in a year. But on
yeah,
TikTok, I get so many more views on things, and it just stayed at 0 for 3 hours. I was like, is it broken? Like, is TikTok
yeah,
down? And I was like watching other people's stuff, and it was working fine. And then when it started showing it to people, like it wasn't that many. Like I usually get the Sunday morning stand-up clips that I put up, usually like pretty consistently get a few thousand views. And since Sunday, I think it's at like 200 something. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Weird weekend for content, I guess.
Yeah, my theory was that actually my theory was posting on Sunday morning. But I think every platform is different. I mean, Facebook users maybe they don't use Sunday
Yeah.
morning or something like that. But
I don't
yeah,
know. I do it. I put stand up clips on Sunday mornings because when I started using TikTok, I put one up on a Sunday morning and it blew up. And then the next week I did it again, and I was like, okay, if I put clips Sunday mornings, they will do well. And it's been a few uh, outliers like this last week, but yeah, like pretty consistently. If I put up like 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning a stand up clip, it does pretty good.
actually I posted that around that same hour, but didn't get any response. I mean, I'm still starting. I mean, like I said, I have only 500 likes on the Facebook page. I haven't
Yeah,
even launched the YouTube channel. The Instagram is still at zero because we're just starting out this project. But yeah, I mean, it gets pretty.
it'll build up like as you put more content on.
Yeah,
Like I of all the social media platforms, I think I use TikTok the most now because I'm getting the most traction with it. And
that's
I
right.
I have friends who like other comics who will see like I'll put a post on Facebook, be like, oh, I had a clip hit 3 million views, and they're like,
Wow.
how? Like I put something and it gets 5, and I'm like, I don't know, like because I've put hundreds of videos on TikTok and you've put 3, so like it
Yeah.
pays off consistency for sure. Like the advice I got that was going around early on was like you have to post 3 times a day, every day. Like it doesn't have to be stand-up clips, but like something like do a video, whatever dumb trend is happening that day, and then like if you do that for like 2 weeks, then like you're in the algorithm higher than other people because it sees that you post a lot. I'm like, okay. During the pandemic, like that was easy. I mean, the pandemic's still going on, but like during lockdown, when I was just home all the time with nothing to do, all my shows had gotten canceled. Sure, doing 3 short videos a day, I could do that, and then you do it for like a year and then your views start to fall off and then you kind of lose interest, so then your views fall off faster. I don't know.
And I feel like I should
It's
know
tough to
this.
stay consistent with it.
Yeah, I feel like I should know this because I work in marketing and content
Yeah.
creation. But yeah, but I mean, I'm on my own. I usually work with a team that it's dedicated to growth and all that. So I'm just trying to find my way there, content
Yeah.
creating. And like I said, I'm ADHD as well. And one of the things that I struggle with is like social skills. Like I struggle to keep friends because
Yeah.
I don't have like that many friends, and the ones that I have I don't see them as much. So I was worried when I created this. I was worried about two things when I created the podcast. I've only seen season one of Bluey, and I'm making
Okay.
a podcast that was about Bluey, and I haven't only seen the season one,
I haven't
and
seen season 3, if that makes you feel better.
yeah, it does. And not having like enough social skills to be relatable or something like that. But
Yeah.
what I thought and how I solved that thing is having you guys on board. I mean, having the community on board. So the idea of this whole thing is having every episode have a different voice. It's not just me talking about a cartoon dog for an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just talk about that stuff and stuff like that. So it's nice to have someone here on the podcast just to share some thoughts, and we are all realizing that we are not alone. The things that we struggle being that are very involved in parenting, there are some really strong struggles there, and we are not alone. I mean, the things that you were talking about, those are the things that I struggled as well, and I'm pretty sure like 95% of the dads on the community on the Facebook group also will relate to that. So
Yeah. There was
yeah,
a thread a while ago about it's a season 2 episode, but
it's
cafe where like Bandit makes a friend. And as a comedian, like one of the things that I do is I write scripts for things to try to get writing jobs. So you'll write like a spec script.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a writing program I was trying to get into a couple of years ago. And I entered it in the past. So basically, you write a script for a TV show that already exists. Like this program has a list of shows that you can pick from, and they're like, pick one of these shows, write an episode, and then send it in, and then like we'll pick 10 people and enroll you in this program. And I think I wrote an Archer, a Bob's Burgers, and I forget the other one that I did. But then the last time I entered it, they're like, we also have a preschool track for like writing kids shows. Here's that list. And I looked at that list and the grown up one. And I'm like, if I'm being honest with myself, the show I know the most about right
It's a kid
now
show.
it wasn't Bluey at the time because this was like 2 or 3 years ago. It was My Little Pony because it was my kid's favorite show. And I'm like, because the point, like the reason they make you write an existing show is because you have to show that you can write in a specific voice that's not
Mm.
necessarily just you. Like you could write an episode of a TV show that's going to sound and feel like an episode of that show. And I'm like, I'm not thrilled about it, but I think, yeah, I can write a My Little Pony script that will feel like a My Little Pony script because I've watched that show so much with my kid lately. But now that show's for sure Bluey. Like, and I was gonna write a Bluey spec script to use as a sample, and the idea was gonna be Bandit like makes a friend with another dad, and then they made that an episode, and I'm like, I mean, bummer, but it feels good to know that like yeah, then it was a good idea for an episode because they made it. And then the other one I was gonna do was like Bandit and Chili go on a date like at home, and it's
Mm.
like the kids are like their way, and that's was another episode that they made. And I was like, okay, good. Like I think I have a good like idea of the voice and tone of this show. Uh, so now like I haven't done a third one because I know there's a whole other season that I haven't seen. I'm like, well, I'll wait till like that's somewhere I can see it and then try to do another one. Because a lot of the times, like I'll get asked to submit for writing jobs, and mostly they just want to see a script for a TV show that already exists. So
Yeah.
I write them regularly just to have like a new one to send in on hand. Um, I've been trying to do stand up about Bluey, and the challenge is most like parents know it really well, and
It's a
other
very
people have
yeah.
no idea.
It's a
Like
very slim niche. It's a very
like
narrow
My Little
known.
Pony, even if like if you didn't have kids, you probably had at least heard of it because it
Yeah,
was
of course.
there was like it's been around for a really long time, but like that iteration of the show is what got really popular. And like I couldn't get too into detail, but if I mentioned it as a reference in a joke, people understood what I was talking about. But now if I when I try to do it, it does like unless it happens to be for a bunch of parents that I'm doing a show for, like most people have no idea what I'm talking about. So to try to make it relatable to be like, right now my hero is a cartoon dog. Like I think about I don't the only tattoo I have is I have a little dot on my wrist that was a drawing accident from years ago. Like I don't have any on purpose tattoos, but I think about getting a bandit one every
Yeah, me
day. Like
too. Yeah, yeah.
I sit because that I would do it to cover up that little dot on my wrist, and I just like sit there and look at it. I'm like that could be bandit. Like, and I think it would genuinely help me be a better dad to like occasionally look down and see bandit on my wrist, like the way people used to wear those "What would Jesus do" bracelets. That, but with bandit. Like, what would bandit do? Bandit
Like I
would
always.
probably not scream and yell because he's incredibly frustrated
Yeah,
as much as I might want to.
yeah, but I mean, well, first things first. Yeah, I always say we all see ourselves in Bandit. We all see something of ourselves, on the Bandit. So
Yeah.
yeah, and the fact that Bandit has a lot of research from, I'm pretty sure there's child psychologists on the show. There are people that are experts on child psychology and all that, and they show Bandit as how good that looks, and we see ourselves there.
Yeah.
So we're doing a good job. We're good dads. I mean, I already said
I
that in
think
episode
so.
one,
Yeah.
but it's pretty cool that if you get that tattoo of Bandit on your arm, and you see that, and then you go like, if a bunch of child psychologists think that this is a good dad, and I have that on my arm, so that means that
Yeah, there's research behind this
yeah.
tattoo. Doctors say I need it. That'll be my
Science.
justification to my wife when I come home with a giant like Bandit tribal arm, like a full sleeve of just Bandit.
Science. It's
Yeah. I think, well, because the thing is, like, season 2's been out for a while in the United States, so like my kids have seen seasons 1 and 2. 3 isn't out yet, but like they've kind of, their interest has kind of waned a little bit in Bluey. Like, we'll still put it on, but they don't necessarily want to watch it all the time now. Like, there was a good long while where they did. Like, that was the show they wanted to watch. When new episodes would come out, it was like every Friday they would come out Friday morning. So then that night we would have dinner, and then we would sit down with our dessert and in the living room, and we'd all watch Bluey together. And it was nice. And now we're sitting here waiting for season 3. And I know I could get it. I know how VPNs work, but I don't want, like, I'm trying to be patient myself so that I can like teach my kids how to be patient.
Yeah.
Like, just because you can use the internet to get something doesn't mean you should. And look, I'm all for stealing from Disney, but like, Disney just distributes it. They don't make it. So like, you know, I don't know.
What happens with
I'm just sitting here patiently waiting
Yeah.
for season 3 to drop, or for me and my 3-year-old to move to Australia so she can
Take care
rescue
of
koalas and I can write for Bluey. Like, that's our current backup plan.
I mean, here in Mexico, we have only season 1 on Disney Plus, and what happens with my kids that they're also not that much into Bluey right now. So what happens there is, for instance, my oldest one is obsessed with Miles Morales, who's Spider-Man. And Miles Morales. He's obsessed with him.
Yeah.
He always wants to see YouTube videos about Miles Morales. What happens is they don't want to watch Bluey, but every time I play Bluey on TV, they will all like stare at the TV for as many hours as I. If I put Bluey on, they will not move. That's what happens with it.
It is what I will put on. Like, if they're just running around and I'm like sitting in the living room trying to get something done, just to have something on in the background, I will put on Bluey, and they'll like watch it. They still like it. I have a 1-year-old nephew who is currently obsessed with Bluey, and it's great because I saw him over the weekend, because he's so young and I haven't seen him that many times since he's been born because there's been a pandemic. Like, he and I, like, it was the most reaction I got from him was when we put the Bluey soundtrack on in the kitchen at my parents' house and had a little dance party. I put it on in the living room so we could watch it, and I was talking to him about it, and he's like, all right, this guy, he's cool, he gets it. So I bonded with my 1-year-old nephew over all my Bluey knowledge.
Great. That's been a long run. I think we're gonna close this off. I mean, we can spend hours talking. We can get so much more than that. But I think I'm gonna wrap this up. I don't want the episodes to be that long.
I think plenty of people would be interested in listening to a Dad's Talking About Bluey podcast, but I don't know about a 3-hour Dad's Talking About Bluey podcast.
We can do that. Yeah. That's a challenge. We can do that.
I'll come back after a while. Do a couple more episodes. I'll come back.
Yeah, I mean, right now we have 4 spots left to completely fill season 1. Season 1 is going to run from February to April. Those 16 episodes. We're all booked. We don't have any more. I mean, we have 4 spots left there. But as soon as season 2 begins, I mean, we would love to have you back. Yeah,
perfect.
More talking. Absolutely.
I'll probably have the tattoo by then. We can talk about that.
I'm gonna get one. Yeah, definitely gonna get one. I mean, I have one right now. Let me show you where is it?
I think if I already had tattoos, I wouldn't have even waited this long. I would have done it.
I tried to make a cat here. This is the head. Yeah, but everyone keeps saying it's a Firefox logo.
I was trying to make out what it was, and that is kind of what it looked like.
Yeah, that's why I don't like that. Yeah, but I'm definitely gonna have a bandit tattoo. Definitely.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, let's let's wrap this episode. Glenn Tickle, everybody. Let's. I'm gonna post the links to his social media, to his videos. Share your TikTok account or something. I don't know how to call it.
Yeah, it's
I'm
it's
pretty
just
drunk.
at Glenn Tickle, I think, everywhere.
Cool. Yeah.
It's not a common name, so I don't have to. There's not a lot of other Glenn Tickles. There's two of them that I have to like beat when a new social media thing launches, but they don't seem to care that much about it. Like I jump on everything immediately to get the username, and they couldn't. They don't mind. I don't think they've never complained to me.
Great. So it was a great episode.
Thank you for
Thank you
having
so
me.
much. Yeah, absolutely. Let's do this one. Let's do this again on season 2, definitely. So go check O Biscuits. That's our Facebook page where we will be launching every episode. Go check and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Share the episodes. Go and check the store. Um, as you probably noticed, I don't have a great quality video, so we're trying to work on that. So we need your kind of support there. Go check the merch. One of my ideas for merch is getting some pretty good quotes from the show, making a mug. I mean, or a shirt or a sticker or something like that. So
Yeah.
go ahead and please support the channel, the podcast. Sorry, and yeah, that's it. Thank you for being here. We'll see you on the third episode of the Bandits Everywhere. My name is Matt. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm sorry it was a little long. I know I promised it will be shorter episodes, but yeah, I don't care.
Talk a lot.
Yeah.
The bandits everywhere.